Oh, I... 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 Oh. I am the only person in the universe, including the directors and editors of Movie 43, to see Movie 43 more than once. I have to believe that. Movie 43 is one of the worst films I have ever seen. No, not as bad as Manos, but made by actual filmmakers, and a lot of them, all of who should have known better, all of who do know better. Hell, the catering truck people probably knew better.
This is weird.
Movie 43 is fascinating because, in my opinion, although it has an incredible cast, and although it was made by people who have proven they can make good stuff, it was doomed from the beginning. Movie 43 is a series of 13 vignettes, not including those that were cut from theatrical release. These vignettes are in no way connected by anything other than a comedic mistiming, asinine humour, poor taste, and overly long exploitation of suckered stars who need to sack their agents. And I'm sure many of them probably did. These 13 vignettes are interspersed with a kind of linchpin storyline about a group of teenagers who are looking for a forbidden movie. Or, these 13 vignettes are interspersed by a kind of linchpin storyline about Dennis Quaid pitching a movie to Greg Kinnear. For some baffling reason, there are alternate versions. Not that it really matters. In the second version that I mentioned, Quaid's character is called Charlie Wessler, and this film is produced by a longtime associate of the Farrelly brothers, Charles B. Wessler, along with Peter Farrelly, John Pinotti, and Ryan Covenor. It's these people who are responsible for Movie 43. I can't blame the director, because there wasn't a director. I mean, there were 13 directors, and 19 writers, and that's why there's no through line. Now, I feel as though before I talk more about the film's production, I should show you a bit more of it, so you can understand that I'm not exaggerating my dislike for this film. I'm largely going to ignore the teenagers in a bedroom plotline of the version I saw, not because it is an alternate version, but because it really has no bearing on the vignettes at all, other than, I guess, to break them up. The fact that there are two versions out there shows that it doesn't matter to understanding or interpreting this movie. Our first vignette is probably the best. Hugh Jackman and Oscar winner Kate Winslet are on a blind date.
But he's probably got one of those awkward character faces that sort of really has to grow on you, right?
Why did you come back to me when she said that? So Hugh Jackman and Kate Winslet are on a blind date. Hugh Jackman has balls on his neck. That's the story. When I first saw Movie 43, I didn't realise it was a series of sketches, so I thought that the entire film was about Hugh Jackman with balls on his neck. I thought, how unusual, maybe even brave. Balls as a metaphor for a stigma. But no, it's just a joke. It's just a gimmick. One of many. Literally, they meet. Hugh Jackman has balls on his neck. We go back to the children.
Well, but I don't care. You know, kids make fun of everything, right?
It's the kind of premise that I think is a little bit funny and could have worked if it was 8 seconds instead of 10 minutes, because, like all of the other vignettes, there's no punchline. The gag is that Hugh Jackman has bollocks on his neck. This particular segment was filmed in 2009, 4 years before the film was released, and was used to leverage in other stars. Or a better word to use might be cajole. At various times in this production's life, various stars involved wanted out, not least Richard Gere. Oh yeah, Richard Gere's in this too. We'll come to that. Movie 43 took almost a decade to get made. Most studios wouldn't touch the thing, and even when Relativity Media did pick it up, it took years to film because of all the stars. They'd shoot for a week, then down tools for weeks or even months before someone else became available. This, by the way, is Movie 43's second sketch, about parents who homeschool their kid, but also bully him so he gets the real high school experience. And yes, that's Naomi Watts. The movie, from what I can glean, really did rely on getting big-name actors. Wessler used his influence, but also used his personal connections. Many of the actors involved, usually headlining movies, were only paid about $800 a day. However, from what I understand, there were also profit-sharing agreements too. I do wonder how many of the actors convinced to be in movie 43, would pick up any of Wessler's future calls. This sketch, by the way, is about, well, listen.
Will you poop on me?
What?
Yes, it's about a woman who wants to be shat on. That's the joke. And they got JB Smoove to say all of this.
She a vegetarian? No. Boom! Big beef burrito with extra beans on that bad boy. Put some salsa, some guacamole for color. When it come out of you, it's a festival. It's not about how fancy it goes in. It's about how fancy it comes out. And believe me, Mexican food makes a fucking mess. You don't want to be Mr. Two Squeeze, thank you please, right?
What the fuck is this?
Viagra, brother. Poop Viagra.
To quote Red Letter Media, how embarrassing. And we're only 25 minutes into this hot Carl. Incidentally, I think this screenshot that I took captures the entirety of Movie 43's appeal. Movie 43 faced an uphill battle from the start because it's an anthology. I think that's difficult to get right, and I think it's difficult to promote, because usually the stars involved aren't really bothered about promoting something they're in for 10 minutes. That's why they utilise the names of so many big actors. I say utilise their names because none of these sub-SNL on a sick week sketches even have time to utilise their talents. This one's about two people in a Family Dollar who rekindle their relationship.
Your flesh, slick with cocoa butter. It haunts me.
So the joke in this one is that the conversation is coming over the PA system, and that Kieran Culkin is kinda creepy. Which is a bit close to home. Then, to speed things along a bit, we get to Justin Long as Robin, speed dating. Batman is a dickhead. He hides under the table and talks at length about Superwoman's vagina. Also, Uma Thurman. I think the fact that Movie 43 is an anthology makes it difficult to appeal to a general audience. I think usually if people are going to go and see an anthology, they expect it to be tied together with a common theme, maybe something like horror. If you have a film which is something like 6 separate horror shorts, I think most people would expect them to be connected in some way, maybe set in the same universe, maybe crossing over characters or something like that. Movie 43 has none of that. After the Batman shenanigans, we're given a shorter vignette about children working in ATMs and fax machines. Again, something that I think would have been okay if it was 15 seconds long, in a sketch show, on TV. Nothing connects the Batman sketch with the children living in machines sketch. None of the sketches are connected. But the fact that Movie 43 is an anthology didn't doom it. It was merely an ingredient in the recipe for disaster that is Movie 43. Here's what I mean. The man from Super Mario Bros. And that episode of Frasier with the dog psychiatrist tells the teens to stop messing around. Then we get Richard Gere as the CEO of Not Apple, holding a meeting where lots of people talk about the iBabe, an MP3 player shaped like a woman, and, well, with a problem.
Kid mangles his dick. Sues us.
You see, there are two problems with this. Firstly, the reason that the film was doomed from the start is that the linchpin story is a joke and has zero depth.
Find us, Movie 43, JJ and Baxter.
What the fuck, man?
Keep looking.
I'm looking!
Don't look!
There's no narrative arc. None of the characters have any time to grow or even become relatable, and because of that, there's no tension whatsoever. But secondly, above all that, it's just very, very bad. It's like a 9-year-old's attempt at adult humour. Its jokes are mistimed, and really, there are very few jokes at all. Our next scene, featuring Brock and McLovin, is about a 10-year-old having her first period. Her friend and the adult men overreact. Ooh.
She's got her period? So disgusting.
Honestly, I think this scene is sexist against men and women. It's condescending to human beings.
Vagina is way too complicated.
Yeah, no shit.
Really? Oh, Dad, that was epic.
It almost feels as if it's an attempt at a comment. On what you ask, I have no idea. I said it feels, because I think that the producers probably thought that movie 43 was very edgy and that it was in some way satirical. But really, it isn't edgy at all. It's only edgy if you think a picture of a turd is edgy. Somebody wrote this. More than just one person, probably. And a crew of people looked at the script and watched these actors do it. That is astounding. Next, we have a Tampax joke. Because blood. Really, that's one of the better bits because it's short. It spills its joke and then fucks off. The Tampax gag has as much joke in it as any of the 10-minute sketches, including our next one with Bad Grandpa and Country Mac, who capture and torture a leprechaun. Also, this scene is the only one in the entire movie that made me laugh. At this bit.
How do you feel about having your balls cut off?
Jeez, they're so into balls.
I laughed, but I was laughing at the movie, not with the movie, because movie 43 is so into balls. Honestly, I never thought I'd talk about a movie being into balls. And here we are. Stephen Merchant and Halle Berry star in a scene that would have been better on something like SNL, where we expect a certain level of bullfuckery. Essentially, they play truth or dare, and their dares go way extreme, to the max. I hate this movie. Stephen Merchant has to sexually assault a Latino man, and Halle Berry has to stick some hot sauce in her self. Then they dare each other to get some ridiculous plastic surgery. Ho ho ho! You know, I don't want to seem like a killjoy. It's not like I'm against crass or out there humour when it's done right. But I think it tells you something that originally Wessler brought on 3 pairs of directors. Peter and Bobby Farrelly, David and Jerry Zucker, and Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Before shooting began, the South Park boys and the Zuckers left. You see, there's a fart joke, like in Blazing Saddles, that has a little bit of context. And sure, it isn't highbrow, but it's handled with actual restraint. In Blazing Saddles, the joke really isn't that there's a group of cowboys farting. The joke is what Slim Pickens says.
How about some more beans, Mr. Taggart? I'd say you've had enough.
Then there's the movie 43 way of doing it.
Baby, what was I wearing? Do you remember what I was wearing?
A yellow sundress. Come on, roll over and let me shit on you, please!
So then the teens find movie 43 and they see the future. And the future is badly overacting.
I need to be out slaughtering. No, you carry my seed. You must stay here where it's safe, where I can protect you.
Then, what luck, just one more scene. It's a nothing sketch about a basketball coach reassuring his team.
You're black, they're white, this ain't hockey. They're white, you're black, this is basketball.
Obviously I'm just showing you clips, but this goes on and on. So finally, we've got through the entire movie. The credits are rolling, and they're showing us some pretty unfunny bloopers. It's done, a reasonable person would think. But no. There is yet another sketch that appears mid-credits, after a few bloopers, about a cat that has sexual feelings for its owner. I can only assume they put it in the mid-credits because it's the worst one. Although frankly, it would have been better if they'd have put it at the very end, after a minute of black screen. Although frankly, it would have been better if they'd have never made any of this, so... When Farrelly and Panotti took movie 43 as a pitch to Relativity Media, they brought with them scripts for 60 vignettes. And these were the best ones. Farrelly reportedly said that his strategy in getting so many recognisable stars was to wait for them, shoot when they want to shoot, guilt them to death. His words. personal connections were used, and the production was extremely keen to turn Will C's into yes but leave me alones. I think that tells you everything you need to know about Movie 43. Its production budget was $6 million, and it made back $32.5 million. And in fact, Relativity managed to rack up pre-sales and agreements with the likes of Netflix, so Movie 43 had covered its costs before it even opened. That doesn't sound too bad, and it really isn't, but I think they expected more. Relativity expected it to debut at $9 million, but its opening weekend only racked up $5 million. Still, it did make money, just perhaps not as much as you'd expect it to with so many stars. But you know what? The box office is irrelevant to this movie being a trash fire. Farrelly complained, after the movie was released, that critics always moan about wanting to see something different, and that Movie 43 is just that. But here's the thing. People who say they want to see something different don't mean they want to see something that isn't another superheroes movie, but is an agonising watch. I've never seen a film literally play backwards. Not like Memento, but so that people talk backwards. That would be a very different film. I don't want to see it. But besides that, Movie 43 is not different. It is exceptional in how misfiring its comedy is and how badly timed and stretched thin its jokes are, but really, it feels very dated. It's different in that it's sketches instead of, a story, and it's different in that it probably contains an actor that you used to respect. I'm joking. It probably contains an actor that you feel a bit sorry for. If anything, Movie 43 reminds me of Freddy Got Fingered, and that in itself arguably came out a bit too late, and also wasn't very well received. But to give it to Tom Green, I think Freddy Got Fingered came from a sincere place of madness. You might call it asinine, but I think Green made it because it appealed to him. Yeah, maybe Green was trying to be edgy too, but I also think that's who he genuinely is. Movie 43 feels like a product. Of course it is, but what I mean is it feels as though its attempts at being offbeat are just manufactured to grab attention rather than to actually say anything, or even really to be funny. To me, Movie 43 seems very conventional in the way it's trying to be out there, like a teenager cutting off their sleeves, or perhaps more aptly, like a 38-year-old dentist at a metal concert cutting off their sleeves, but also trying to hide their Shania Twain tattoo. It's insincere in its attempts to be outrageous, because it's made by people who aren't on the fringe, and who aren't trying to subvert anything. Even cynically, it doesn't even have the shock value that the trailer promises. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Well, I don't think so. I don't think it's a particularly wonderful road to go down anyway, but not being a 12-year-old that gets all jittery when I hear someone swear or make a fart sound, I think Movie 43 isn't impactful at all. It's really very forgettable. I mean, really, don't go and find this for a laugh because it's not fun to watch even as a bad movie. What I'm saying is if you're going to make a film like this, you either need to make it funny and with a reason to keep watching, which I've said is difficult for an anthology of unconnected stories, or you need to make it genuinely out there. It was doomed to fail artistically because it is inherently lazy, and it only got the box office it did because it sold itself on the names of those involved. But ultimately, the money made was little compared to the star power of the cast. It was always about the cast. It never had any ambition to be that anthology film with the great writing. It never wanted to be really out there. It never really wanted to be any good because it's so half-arsed. Still, the Farrelly brothers telling critics to back off tells us that the rinsing of this film hit a nerve. Maybe they thought it was less obnoxious and more anarchic than it is. Who knows? Movie 43 is certainly not a movie that is fun to watch for being bad. It's just bad. Join me next time where I'll be discussing what makes some movies so bad that they're good, and why other movies aren't like that at all. I'd love to know what you guys think about Movie 43, and I'd especially like to hear from you if you saw Movie 43 at the cinema. What was it like, and why did you go? Because I am fascinated. As ever, thank you very much for joining me. You can follow me on social media if you want, for some reason. The links are in the pinned comment below. Don't forget to like. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Oh my God, just when I thought it couldn't get more offensive.